you ask her to do, she gets it done. So many talented individuals in this call right now. I'm so stoked to be able to bring you guys all together. Can't wait to where we can network. But anybody that just came in, we're giving about 3 minutes after the time to let any kind of people running late to the party, give them some time to get in here.
And James, if need be, if the questions kind of run a little bit over the hour, that's fine. Obviously, we want to be respectful of everybody's time, but I want to make sure that we give people the information about what we're building and really surround ourselves with people that believe in this. And just from the introductions that you've given, kind of searching through you guys' Discords and LinkedIn's, I want to reiterate everything he said. We are super, super appreciative of you coming on, learning more about what we're building, and hopefully being a part of it.
Okay, yeah, fantastic. Say no more. So, if you guys just heard that, usually we, with the AMAs, we have about an hour. That's what we give to it. But if Brett is okay with the Q&A going over, I'm cool. So I'm stoked. So please get your questions ready, and we'll be here to answer them. Thank you, Brett. That's amazing.
Yeah, no problem. Within reason, of course. I don't think anybody wants to be on a 3-hour AMA, but if we go 10, 15 minutes longer, give the people what they want kind of thing.
Gotcha. Thank you for the clarification. So no 3-hour like Joe Rogan style thing going on here today.
Well, I don't think for the first one.
Well, first we'd all need Alpha Brain first, right? We need to get that going, and then we could maybe talk about that, right?
Yeah, 100%. All right, guys, it is 5 minutes after. We're going to go ahead and kick things off. First of all, I want to welcome everybody to the very first Brass Synergy AMA on Discord. Well, really, I think ever. This is the first one that we've launched. So thank you guys for being here for the Discord launch for the first ever Brass Synergy AMA. This is a historical moment, and I couldn't be more happy to have you all here tonight or today, this morning, whatever time zone you're in. The purpose of this meeting is to give a little bit of history of Brass Synergy, to get some more information about the platform, about the project, about the value that you can expect from this project, why it's going to change how professionals, freelancers, businesses do all sorts of things in the Web3 space. It's an amazing project, and I can't wait for you guys to get this information. So while you're getting it, please feel free to drop any questions that you may have in the AMA questions channel. It's just right above here. You just go to the AMA questions, drop your questions. I think it's in the onboarding section, and we'll be answering those at the end of the call. So without further ado, I do want to let everybody introduce themselves. I think most of you know who I am. My name is James. I am the CCO of Brass Synergy, that's Chief Community Officer. My background is in operations. Well, I was an operations director for a number of years in the quick service restaurant industry. It's like fast food, McDonald's, etc. But in Web3, I've only ever really done community. I got started with Steemit.com way back in 2017. And from there, got really into NFTs 2021. Built out Accelerate, which became probably at the time the largest community management agency in Web3. And I recently came on board here to help build this amazing project. Once I spoke to Ryan and Brett for, I think we spoke for like 7 months, right? Like we spoke for a long time, and I saw the conviction of these two founders, and I couldn't not be a part of what they're building, because for in Web3, for somebody to be planning and building and steadfast on their vision without any funding, without anything but anything but their just drive, ambition, and vision of the future for 7 months and talking to me like once, twice, 3 times a month for that entire time, it just made me a believer. And I'm sure after you guys see what they are and you get to know them, you will be a believer as well. So without further ado, let's kick it over to our COO, Chief Operations Officer, Ryan.
Thanks, James. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. Little about myself. I started crypto, got into the space about 2015. Got pretty lucky early on with some altcoins, and from there I kind of went on and decided to start into getting involved into more startups because I wanted to kind of get on the ground floor on something early. And I got into one particular project called ICOT, and there was probably about less than 20 people in that community, and it's where I eventually met Brett. And with that community, we took it from about 20 people or so up to about 50,000 people, and we drove that token price from about a penny to $1. Unfortunately, it turned out to be a rug pull. So, as good a luck as I had early on, I had that experience, and it was kind of unfortunate. But it was a good thing because it brought me to what Brass Energy is today, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. But a little bit more about my past is I actually ran my own computer repair company for 7 years. So I have good knowledge of operations and a little bit of marketing and how to run a business that way. I've also helped build, train, and scale sales teams to be some of the best sales departments in the company. So I have a lot of experience in that aspect as well. And from now, I'm just going to pass it over to Brett to give you a little bit about him. Brett?
Thanks, Ryan. So, everybody, my name is Brett Butler. I am the CEO and the co founder of Brass Energy. Very similar story to Ryan. Got into crypto in late 2015, early 2016. Had no idea, truthfully, what I was doing. Luckily, I invested in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple, and it exploded in value. And from that moment on, I was pretty much hooked. So I was doing everything from community management to freelance work, advising, consulting, even working for free, just trying to get experience, network, and get exposure. And one of the first projects was the one that Ryan mentioned that turned out to be a rug pull. And really, from that experience, we kept in contact and just kept on asking ourselves, why is there not a platform out there that can operate with transparency and trust and really connect good people with good projects and provide opportunities for those that are wanting to leverage Web3 technology in their everyday lives? From that, I then got into kind of the traditional finance. So I did advising for Bank of America and Merrill Lynch. I was in charge of managing portfolios upwards of $50 million. And part of that was actually helping people responsibly introduce cryptocurrency into their portfolios. And then now I'm still very heavily involved in financial education, but it's much more tailored towards crypto and Web3. So I work with massive brands and deliver webinars all over the world about cryptocurrency, digital assets, and again, how you can be able to responsibly add them to your portfolio, which for those involved may just be, hey, taking a few $1,000s and making their first purchase, all the way up to getting involved and becoming a freelancer overall. So that's kind of a little bit of my background, along with a little bit of what inspired us to create Brass Energy, and we'll get into it in much deeper detail kind of throughout the presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. And also, I think everybody here knows Mark. Mark, do you want to give a quick introduction as well?
Yeah, thank you, James. Thank you so much. So my name's Mark Vincent Bergoli. If just a background about myself, I used to focus on teaching people on how to speak in English here in the Philippines. Managed training departments for different call centers, and then I decided to shift my focus to Web3. Started as a moderator in Accelerate. I didn't work in any other companies in Web3, just Accelerate. I worked well. I worked hard. I worked very hard until such time I reached to the point of partnering with James. And now we're here building Brass Synergy together with Ryan, James, and Brett. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Brett, and I'm sure thank you, Mark. I think everybody here already knows so much about you. You do so much all the time to help people and touch lives. So thank you for everything you do. So Brett, I want to get a question to you a little bit first. You were talking about um, the reasons why you built. You touched on that. You touched on the reasons why you built and wanted to build Brass Synergy. Could you go a little bit more in depth about that? Like, what sparked the idea, and how are you looking to shake things up in the freelance world?
Sure. So really, the inspiration for Brass Energy kind of came out of two major inspirations. The first was the experience that Ryan and I had with a rug pull. It was kind of that revelation of, again, there wasn't anything out there at the time. It was the wild, wild west. And even now today, I mean, we've seen countless examples with FTX, there's scams galore, and we wanted to create kind of that safe space. So that was the first. And the second one was when COVID happened. We saw a massive shift to individuals in Web 2 and Web 3 wanting to work remotely and really wanting to become freelancers. And so there was a lot of this concentration of talent that was leaving full-time opportunities to work on freelancing platforms. But the problem is that the deeper that you dove into that, the more you realized that people couldn't be able to be paid in cryptocurrency and fiat on these platforms. People were charged exorbitant transaction fees. It took weeks sometimes to be able to pay a freelancer, but most importantly, the people on there weren't vetted and verified. So you were making decisions based on information that wasn't exactly correct. And so we kept on thinking about this and saying, what if we created this vetted Web3 talent ecosystem where anyone in the world could be able to learn about Web3, they could monetize what they learned as a freelancer to gain experience. If they wanted full-time opportunities, they could do that with companies that were building actual businesses. And if you were an investor looking to invest in projects, you'd be able to connect with vetted projects early on. Or if you were a founder like us looking for fundraising, there'd be a network of vetted investors, each that were buying into Web3, the applications of the technology, and the impact that it would be able to have in people's lives. And so that's a little bit of the things that inspired it, as well as the fact that we're trying to maybe to create opportunity for freelancers. So we're allowing people to get paid in cryptocurrency and in fiat. We're removing the transaction fees for freelancers. We're allowing them to actually submit what's called a digital portfolio, so an example of their work, so that way they can join day one with a history, as opposed to joining a platform where they may be a top rated or top rated plus seller on another platform, but aren't willing to come onto this because it's brand new. And so anything we could do to be able to minimize that friction and onboard viable people is something that we're all about, as well as the fact that we're going to be producing a community referral program. So I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit further on, both for builders and for freelancers. But that's some of the ways that we are changing the freelancing game, as well as really for everyone that's on the platform.
Yeah, and I'd just like to jump in on that a little bit too. One of my favorite features that we came up with, truthfully, was the educational part of it, and it's something that's going to take, some time to build out through a couple of our different phases, which are going to be alpha and beta, and we'll go into that a little bit more too. But it's because the one thing we realize is there's a lot of platforms that offer education, whether it's through articles or something like that, or maybe like an intro video or things of that nature, but nothing that really allowed you to apply that really afterwards without having to go somewhere else. And even those job boards are kind of hard. So the one thing we really wanted to do was give people a chance to say, hey, I want to focus on becoming, a web designer or a tokenomics expert or something like that. Be able to learn about that and then be able to go over to the marketplace and be able to find jobs in those particular areas. So that's one of the things that I'm extremely excited about. And with that, I'll pass it back to James.
I love that. Everything you guys just said, phenomenal. Education means a lot to me. I know it does to Mark as well. And I can't wait to see all of that get built out. Now, I do want to go back to what Brett was talking about with vetted um, professionals and making sure that there are viable vetted professionals from day one, importing their digital work history, digital portfolio onto the platform. So speaking about that, can you tell us, because it's kind of in the same vein, I'm wondering who, obviously they know about us, we kind of introduced ourselves a little bit, but who's on the team, and what do they bring to the table? If we're speaking about vetted, viable team members, making sure we have that on the platform, how have you vetted the people for your team? And I'm just curious about that and how you assembled the right group to pull this off.
Yeah, that's a great question. And for me, that's really the foundation of business is the people that are a part of the project, whether you're looking at as a customer or an investor. And so for us, it was kind of bringing together the character and values that we were looking for with real world experience. So you guys have all heard about kind of Ryan and my background, being able to build up a company from scratch, really not knowing what the heck we were doing, but trying to build things the right way, hiring people, working as freelancers, experiencing a lot of these issues firsthand, as well as applying those same principles in both a Web 2 and a Web 3 environment. In terms of the remainder of our team, the biggest thing that we wanted to bring on board was a rock solid CTO. And so we have officially brought on board Joey Carradine. He was the previous CTO for Non-Fungible Labs. He has done pretty much everything there is to do in crypto and Web3 from the development side. He's a full stack developer, does front end, back end, smart contract development, has worked with auditing companies as well for the smart contracts. He has built development teams, handled technical interviews, been able to scale development teams, managed multi-million-dollar development budgets on a yearly basis. And most importantly, he's helped with fundraising. He's raised over $40 million in his career with various programs as a CTO, as well as the fact that he's successfully executed multiple mints, raising millions of dollars that way as well. And he's had 2 successful exits. So it was important for us to be able to get that experience of building something, being able to scale it, and then being able to exit and create something that's sustainable. So on the development side, he brings a wealth of knowledge and experience. James, you and Mark's track record really speak for itself. When I first kind of connected with you guys, it was about building a sustainable community, because we always talked about wanting to build this for the Web3 community, by the Web3 community, with input throughout from the Web3 community. And so that being the foundation, we wanted to work with someone who understood how to be able to create champions from your different environment and be able to empower them and be able to leverage them to grow this to something that's absolutely massive. So it wasn't necessarily just concerned about, okay, we want to build a community of 50,000 people, but it was starting with bringing on the right people, builders, influencers, freelancers, professionals, businesses, investors that were actively in the space, that were subscribing to a lot of the same values of transparency, trust, professionalism, and really wanting to take Web3 in a direction and really bring it to the masses, so that way we can introduce it to so many other people. And then finally, in our most recent team member as of last night was a CMO. So he was the previous CMO for a portfolio company within Futureverse. Again, has had multiple businesses that he's created from 0 to 10 million plus in revenue, has had 3 successful exits, has raised just over $50 million. So collectively as a team, we've raised just under $100 million. We have 5 successful exits, and we have worked in Web 2 and Web 3, hired teams, built teams, managed $1 million plus budgets within our respective departments. And we're all doing this because we believe in what we're doing. And without kind of putting too many people behind the curtain, the testament to that is that none of the core team members right now are taking a salary. And so we're doing this because we believe in this. We are building this to try and make it be sustainable. And in terms of the due diligence that I did on everybody, and I know Ryan was a part of this as well, it was several phone calls, and it was wanting to bring on the right people, kind of doing our own background research, talking to our networks, and really making sure that we brought in people with the same values, the experience, but most importantly, we all got along together. Because you could have great people that have great skill sets, but if they don't get along, nothing's going to end up happening. So I know that's a very long-winded answer, but that was what went into building the team and our backgrounds. And I'll kind of highlight that again in the presentation where we kind of go through everything.
Amazing. Yeah, and I just want to say real quick, like everything he just said about the process he goes through, that him and Ryan have gone through to select their team. Like I said at the beginning of this call, we spoke for like 6 months before I actually came on board, and there was two reasons for that. One, they wanted to ensure that I was the right guy for the job. And then, and obviously they took their time, like they really vetted me, top to bottom. And the other thing is I only came on because I saw how, how serious they were for this project. Like they said, nobody's really taking a salary. I have my own company. I have other things that we build. And I'm giving so much of my time to this project. I'm here to build with them because these guys believe wholeheartedly in their vision, and to me, that means more than anything else. If you have founders that have experience and they believe in their vision, that's why I came on board. I said, this is it. These are the guys. And then the CTO, next level. You should see this guy work. He's an absolute beast. I mean, just ridiculous. So anyway, all right, next question. So, we spoke a bit about the team. We spoke a bit about, why we're building this. So now let's talk about what we're building. Can you walk us through a little bit about how the platform works? Like, how does it get the freelancers and employers together and make sure it's such a good match?
Yeah, I can definitely do that. And I think probably the easiest is I can actually share my screen and we'll walk through a demo so you guys can see live exactly what we're building. And as I walk through the pages, we'll kind of talk through the various features and what it is in its current state, along with what it will be in the coming months. So, can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
I can.
Awesome. So as you all see on the screen here, this is set up very similar to a LinkedIn. So this is the networking component of what we're building. So as you see, we already have the functionality of being able to like, comment, repost different posts that were on there. You could do images, polls, and mind you, this is created from scratch in less than a month. This is how rock solid our CTO is. Now, a couple things to be able to note. One thing is going to be this check mark. So James talked about verification and vetting, and it's really a core component of what we're building. So there's going to be two main levels of verification. The first is going to be like a basic KYC. And this is going to allow us to get initial information from users and onboard them to the platform. And that's going to be rolled out immediately. In the beta version of our platform, there's going to be a level 2 verification. And what's going to be happening is that we have a proprietary AI algorithm that we're building that's going to verify all of the information that you as a user upload. So think education history, employment history, licenses, all of that, and compare that to various public data sources to be able to show that, hey, I am Brett Butler. I did work at XYZ company. I did graduate from this university. So when you interact with somebody, you know that their information is legitimate. Because right now, any of us could go onto LinkedIn, and don't get me wrong, it's a great platform, but I can say, hey, I'm the CEO of Google, and if no one's the wiser, I can be able to ride that reputation, get opportunities, because there's no level of protection on there. Same thing with companies. I mean, I'm sure you guys, when you work for different companies, people say, oh, I did XYZ at this company. I raised millions of dollars, where they were a very small, insignificant, really portion of that, and they're taking advantage of somebody else's hard work, and we wanted to be able to minimize that. So that is kind of the home networking base. The next is the marketplace. So this will be set up very similar to like an Upwork, to where users can automatically put in various types of jobs. But what I want to call your attention to is the filtering criteria. So what we wanted to try and do is make it as seamless as possible. And one thing that we're going to be adding in is the reputation score, which we'll talk about later on. But it's going to be dynamic and it's going to be based off of your engagement and involvement on the platform. So you can be able to look at a particular offering and be able to say, okay, I only want to associate with people that have the highest reputation range, for example. Another thing that we're building with this is a compare tool. So if you've been on like an Amazon, for example, and you compare different products based on the price, how long it takes to get there for shipping, maybe even the seller's information, we're going to be doing the same thing here on a variety of criteria. Next, we have the job board, and this is where we are incredibly excited. So our CTO has created a custom Discord bot that right now is aggregating data from all jobs all over the world, and it's populating multiple times a day. And right now we're starting with a small test, but in the future, it's going to do not just full-time opportunities, but also freelancing jobs. And in this current version, if you scroll down to the bottom and you click on apply now, it's going to take you to the external platform. But the next version in beta is all of this is going to be on our platform in and of itself. And this is because what we're ultimately trying to create with this is every single person on our platform will have a digitally verifiable on-chain resume. So if you click apply now, it's going to send your resume and your profile to the potential employer. If they agree to be able to meet with you, you're going to see their digitally verifiable on-chain resume as well. So you can be able to see the company's in good standing. They actually have the budget to be able to afford me. This is what they're trying to be able to do. So it streamlines the entire hiring process and provides unparalleled transparency for everyone. And this is something that we're actively leveraging right now for potential partnerships, because the Discord bot right now is active. So we're reaching out with various communities. Right now, I am in active communications with Yugo Labs, Binance Labs. We're getting ready to go to GBC London literally next week. And part of that conversation when I'm meeting with investors is also meeting with their portfolio companies, because what it's doing is it's creating a mutually beneficial opportunity, because they're creating more awareness of those jobs and it's absolutely free to them. So they can be able to say, hey, I'd love to be able to add my jobs to here. No risk to them. If they don't find a viable candidate, no worry, it's free advertising. So everybody is winning. And from that, we're getting more awareness of our platform and the community that we're building. Next, we have the network. So with this is very similar to like a friends list that you would have, but a couple things to call your attention to is we're creating pods. And what those are is that I know that James recognized several of you for being community managed, for example. And if you wanted to partner with several people and create like an agency, you could. Or you could work with a developer and a tokenomics professional and maybe another marketer, and you could create like this one-stop shop where people could go and be able to get a variety of services. And it allows you as a builder and as a freelancer more exposure. You could be able to build that on here too. And the last thing on this page that we're going to be building is creating groups. So you as a community manager, for example, could be able to create a group of community managers where you guys share best practices that maybe you learned from the educational content, or you are being able to create your own communities within our platform. And the best part about this is you can make them free, you can make them public, you can make them paid and private. So you can actually token gate it as another revenue source for your protocols. And collectively, as the platform gets more and more popular, we're all going to end up winning together. After that, we have the Messenger tab. This is pretty self-explanatory. What we're working on right now is actually segmenting this. So you're going to be able to see segments for like a social messages versus freelancing messages if you have clients, as well as maybe professional opportunities or things like that. So you can easily navigate. And this is all going to feed into a CRM that's going to be on the platform itself. So if you're doing outreach, you could be able to tailor it, whether you're reaching out to jobs, you're reaching out to investors, you're reaching out to other people for networking opportunities, the works. all of it's going to be integrated into what we're building. The last two things that I'd like to be able to show are your profile. This is just very early stage right now, but as we get into the additional layers of verification, you'll be able to input your information and it'll actually show a visual that'll show, hey, my about section's verified, my experiences are verified, my education, this one's verified, this one isn't, we couldn't find any documentation. So I, as a user, could be able to submit that to have it be analyzed so that way I could be able to get additional verification. And the final thing here is analytics. So one of the things that I'm sure we've all experienced recently is the LinkedIn algorithm. It's constantly changing. There's not really a whole lot of really public information on what is happening. And content creators like yourself are trying to be able to build your audience and make sure that you're tailoring content to the people that you want it to be able to reach out to. And so we're diving super deep into analytics. We're going to have advanced adverts. We're going to have the impressions on a singular level, where at the end of the day, once this is fully built out, you can say that I'm specifically looking for males that are 18 to 24 years old in the US, and these are the type of content that they are specifically looking for. So I can tailor all of my content specifically to what they're looking for, and I can analyze my audience to see, am I reaching my target audience or am I not at all? And then the last thing is that in terms of quality of life, we already have a light and dark feature, as well as the fact that you can be able to create an account using Web 2 or Web 3 methods. This is something that we were really passionate about, was bringing top Web 2 talent into Web 3, as well as appealing to Web 3 users. So again, I know, James, that's a very long demo introduction of answering your question of how everything works, what it is right now versus in the future. But I hope you as an audience can be as excited as we are about where we are and, again, where we're going, because this is, after about 4 weeks worth of work, the alpha version we anticipate being live October this year, beta will be Q1 of next year, and the full version will be July of 2023.
That's amazing. Thanks so much, Brett. I know we're about 35 minutes in, so I have one more question, and then I don't know if you want to go into the presentation after that, since we kind of went over the platform. Up to you. I think we should still probably. But my question before we do that is, we've looked over the platform. We've discussed how it's going to function for freelancers, but what is the value? What opportunities do early adopters, like the people here in this audience, what we are dubbing the builders, the early builders, the people that are going to be here building alongside us in this minimum viable community that we're building, the model we're building with a small, close-knit network of people, what type of value and opportunities do they have to help either shape the direction of the platform or for them to get themselves?
Yeah, I'll let Ryan speak to that in the beginning while I pull up a couple of visuals, and then Ryan, I'll carry on if there's anything else to add.
Yeah, sure. So, great question, James. So, really, there's a couple of things here. So, you guys have heard over and over alpha and beta and stuff like that, and eventually we'll follow a live version. And the reason we're doing that is because we realize a couple of things. One, it's a robust build. We know it's a large platform, but the other thing that we really realized was, much like we talked about on a couple of occasions, we wanted to build something for freelancers or for the users of the in the community, for the community and by them. So by doing that, we broke it up into 3 phases. So with each phase, people are going to be able to give their feedback, what they like, what they don't like, things they want us to improve on, and then we can actually take those and implement them. The one thing that we noticed really early on, especially in the Web3 space, but just stuff that I've learned throughout all of my experience, is people want to have their voice heard. And the more you can have people's voices heard, and you can take that feedback and potentially even implement some of that, the more they feel like they're a part of the actual team, because they are. But the more they get excited about the product. And we are so excited about this, and we're so very passionate about this. And the one thing we wanted to do was bring that to our platform, because that's one thing that we notice that, whether it's Upwork, Fiverr, LinkedIn's of the world, don't really do. They don't really take customer feedback. So we know there are things that customers want that they're just not getting. So we feel like if we bring that to our platform, it just gives us an extra leg up. And the second thing to that is to answer your question, James, is the benefits. Well, really, the limited NFT is a huge benefit. That's one of the biggest benefits, because essentially it gives you lifetime access. So for basically 1 year's worth of memberships, you get a lifetime NFT. You get an NFT that gives you a lifetime membership. So no more monthly fees, no more yearly fees after that. It just, you pay once and you're a lifetime member. The second biggest benefit early on is the earlier you get in, the more your NFT will farm token wise when we release a token down the road. We have full capability and want and need to launch a token. It's just something that we're going to wait about a year or so on, because we want to build up the community first, so there's less fluctuation in price when that token does get launched. And then, Brett, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying. So everyone, here's kind of an overview of what Ryan is talking about. And you're going to see kind of in the presentation, when we talk about the NFT, there's kind of two components. There's the generation of it, and there's the rank of it. So the idea is that when you create a profile, you're approved to the platform, you complete the level 1 verification. When you set up that profile, it's actually a soul-bound mutable NFT on the back end. Now, to a user, it's just, hey, I create my profile, I engage, and I improve it. But that's what's going on in the back end. And the idea is that we wanted to reward early users. And Ryan illustrated several of the key benefits, but a couple of the things is that we wanted to be able to ultimately allow our community to be able to prosper as this thing continues to build. So as he said, there's lifetime premium plus membership. There's going to be an advertising credit. So bar none, if you just join the minimum viable community, you engage in the way that James is talking about, in order to be able to do that with everybody else, you would have had to have been an angel or a seed round investor, which for most of our angel investors, the buy-in was anywhere from $1,000 to $2,500. For our seed round, that minimum is $10,000. So you guys, by being able to put in the sweat equity and being able to build with us, you would have been able to get that completely for free. There's another thing that he talked about, which was being able to farm the token supply. But the last thing I wanted to talk about was actually platform rewards. So what we're going to be doing is a portion of the revenue that we create as a company, we're going to end up distributing that to the public. And being a part of the limited edition community, you guys are going to have a separate rewards pool. Now, in order to be compliant with everything, this isn't going to be like there's no free lunch. As you continue to engage and earn points, you're going to get a pro rata distribution of that. But that is in perpetuity. And nobody else can be able to touch that pool. So somebody wants to put in $10 million later on, they will never have the benefits that you guys would have right now. And in terms of the points, the reason why this is so important is we wanted to create something that was sustainable. So in order to do that, we had to set it up to where the points earned for those same activities are going to decline over time. So doing the things that you guys are doing right now, like referring someone to the community, being able to engage on the types of content, being able to connect us to other partnerships. You doing that right now versus somebody doing that same thing, you're going to get 2 to 3 times the amount of points as someone would later on, which is going to allow you to be able to improve your overall profile, which is going to give you access to a plethora of benefits. Because as you see, as you improve your overall profile rank, you're going to gain access to additional things. So like discounts on transactions, discounts if you wanted to be able to hire somebody. You're going to get additional areas of expertise for your profile to further distinguish yourself from other people, as well as priority access to other events in the future. So that's why it is so important to be able to be a part of this minimum viable community, and why we're so excited to work with builders like yourself, because you guys get it. You've built communities in the past. You are all fantastic people from what James has said and the very limited research that we've been able to do. And you're the type of people that we want to get feedback throughout the development cycle.
Absolutely. Amazing. Thank you guys so much for answering that question. I do want to just reiterate that, the purpose of the community and the purpose of this MVC is Ryan and Brett, myself, the rest of the core team, we all have a fundamental belief in the Web3 philosophy that you build alongside the community. That's what separates Web3 from like really anything else. It doesn't have to be a top down, you're going to do what I say because I say so type of thing. In fact, like if you look around, that's kind of failing all around the world. But when you build next to people, you give them the value that they want, that they need, that they're craving. You're building the platform for them, alongside them. That's going to set us apart from all of these other platforms. I'm sure a few of you guys have seen them come out where they just throw up some Web3 professional platform and say, hey, we're a Web3 professional platform, but they didn't do what we're doing now. And that's what's going to really set us aside and set all of you up for massive, massive potential to set yourself apart because you were here. You're able to build alongside us. You're able to build your profile on the platform alongside us. You're able to do all of this and participate in the early value before anybody else comes on board. So massive, massive potential for everybody here. I just want to reiterate that. So without further ado, we have we're about 15 minutes until the original end. So we about 30 minutes until the potential elongated end. If you want to jump into, I mean, I know you kind of went over a bit of you went over the platform, you went over the presentation a bit. Do you have anything else that you'd like to share in the presentation?
James, I could do a quick presentation of about 5 minutes if you want. That's just kind of a brief overview of what we're doing, why we're building it, and it is mainly tailored towards investors, but that way you guys can at least see what we are going to be presenting. This is the exact presentation this weekend that we'll be giving to investors at GBC London. And then from there, happy to open it up for questions. We should have about 20-25 minutes for everything.
Amazing. Let's do it. Thank you, Brett.
Sounds good. All right, everyone. Can you see my screen?
I can.
Perfect. So everyone, you've heard throughout today's AMA that really the basic premise that we started this whole thing with is the one thing that separates good from poor businesses is people. And when you think about it, being able to attract and retain top talent is essential. And as we all know, this is never more important than it is in Web3, because the industry as a whole does a poor job of vetting people. And in fact, 65% of people will misrepresent their profile. And when you combine this with the inefficient HR processes and the fact that the world as we know it is changing, so now more than ever before, people are flocking towards freelancing platforms. But they have a multitude of issues, like not allowing people to pay in cryptocurrency, charging exorbitant transaction fees, taking weeks to be able to pay freelancers, and most importantly, not actually verifying their information. So when you're making a purchase decision, it's oftentimes based off of false information. And from that, we knew there had to be a better way. At Brass Synergy, ultimately, we're creating a vetted Web3 talent ecosystem. So for talent and freelancers, the end vision is you're going to be able to transact with confidence and build a digitally verifiable on-chain resume. If you're a company that's hiring, you can source talent globally, cheaper, faster, and more securely than ever before. And if you're an investor or market participant, you could be able to monetize your network through our community referral program, as well as gain access to vetted projects before they hit the market. Now, ultimately, when we created this, we wanted to eliminate some of the issues that we saw firsthand, which is why we charge incredibly competitive transaction and placement fees. We're going to allow people to pay in both fiat and crypto with escrow services and a proof of funds prior to joining. As we said, we're going to allow freelancers to upload a digital portfolio so that way they can join with a history. But ultimately, the one thing that separates us is every single person on our platform is going to be independently vetted prior to joining. And then when they join, they're going to be given a dynamic reputation score that's going to allow us to be able to have a check and balance system and fuel our growth in a mindful way. So this is going to take into account things like platform engagement, reviews and recommendations, industry knowledge, and wallet health. So far more than just, oh, you're a top rated seller. It's really looking at the individual in a holistic manner and is going to allow us to embody the values that we ultimately want our company to represent. In terms of the market opportunity, as you guys probably imagine, this is massive, with Web3 and freelancing converging, representing over a $100 billion market. Now, the way that we're going to monetize this is going to be a membership subscription with additional add-ons. For those of you that do join the minimum viable community, you won't have to worry about any of this because you'll be able to automatically get a profile set up, assuming you pass that level 1 verification. You won't have to pay a dime for the membership or for advertising because you'll have that advertising credit. But for the remainder of our community, what this represents is a potential $175 million worth of revenue over our first 5 years. Now, we've talked about it several times, but none of this would have been possible without a great team. We've all been in the space since 2016. We've built companies to well over 50,000 members. We've worked as freelancers, consultants, advisors. We've hired teams in Web 2 and Web 3. Collectively, we've raised just under $100 million. We have 5 successful exits, and we completely understand the issues that are in Web 3. And our advisors have built and scaled companies to multiple 9 figures and are leading some of the top companies in the space. In terms of how we compete against other platforms, we know that we're going to be competing in Web 2 and Web 3, but the main thing that we separate is the fact that every single person is independently vetted and they're having that dynamic reputation score. But simply for freelancers, we're just going to pay you more, faster, and in crypto as well as in fiat. In terms of the progress to date, right now we have 3,500 freelancers that are willing to join our platform when it's live. We actively have 12 businesses that have agreed to be able to staff positions on the bot, as well as hire people from our platform, and that list is growing daily. We oversubscribed our friends and family round, and we actively have the MVP that I showed you guys earlier. Right now, what we're doing is we're building our seed round, where we're going to be raising $3 million via SAFE with a token warrant. And the goal there is to be able to scale up this minimum viable community to over 2,500 people, as well as build the remainder of the platform with you guys' input, which translates to over $7.5 million over the next 18 months. In terms of what the next 2.5 years look like, right now our focus is finishing the alpha version of the platform, as well as completing the seed round. The alpha version we anticipate is going to be ready by October. Beta will be ready in January. And the full version of the platform is going to be available in Q3 of 2024. And like Ryan said, the whole goal is to build the sustainable platform with the community. So we have actual token utilities, we have consistent revenues. So when we introduce a token into that environment, we can absolutely crush an IDO and make sure that there is sustainability in terms of the token price. So that way we can be able to continue growing this in the future. So that is a brief overview of what we're building. Again, I know that was a little long-winded, James, but happy to turn it over to the community for any questions that you guys have, and we hope that you guys can be a part of this.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Brett, Ryan, for all of your time today, all of your hard work, all of these amazing things that you guys have spent so long getting prepared for this moment right here and all of the moments to come. Without further ado, let's get to some questions from the Brass Synergy community. If you can, please go into the AMA questions. It is right above this stage. It's the next channel right above it. If you look, it says AMA questions, has a little waving emoji. Pop in some questions there and we'll get to answering them. The first question is from MA. Probably butchered that, so sorry if I did. Fascinating, they say. Who are your Web3 competitors?
Yeah, so there's several Web3 competitors that are out there that are doing somewhat similar things. Brain Trust is one of them. There's also Cleoverse, as well as a couple of other ones that will be doing freelancing. The biggest distinguishing factor is that you separate it into networking versus freelancing, and the fact that none of them are really doing verification. So those companies that are out there, they've done fantastic. They've built their communities in a different way, but they tend to, on the freelancing side, either prioritize established people in the space. You're talking like 6-figure positions and up, or they focus on longer term engagements. Whereas we found that, especially for those that are just entering the market and creating opportunity, a lot more of those jobs that they would like would be shorter engagements. So that way they can continue to get experience with a variety of clients, as well as those full-time opportunities. So those are some of the Web3 competitors, along with how we distinguish ourselves. Outside of the fact that our fees are lower, we pay people faster.
Yeah, and I'll also say, when I came on board last month, I did a pretty in-depth competitor analysis, took a look around the space, and I can say with absolute certainty, there's nobody really building this. There's people that are kind of trying, and I hope this isn't taken as like me throwing shade on any other builder in Web3. That's not what this is about. It's just being honest. I want to be very honest. There are some platforms out there that are okay, but what our CTO has built in a month is better than these platforms that have been building with funding for like 6 months, a year and a half. So I'm just saying. Just want to throw that out there. All right.
And James, before we go to the next question, I just want to be able to point out that following this presentation, we'll actually be able to send out the one-pager. And on there, we did a deep dive. It's about 50 pages into Web 2 and Web 3 competitors. So we did extensive due diligence on everything, looking at marketing, community management, pricing strategy, you name it, we looked at it. Obviously, we're still learning on a daily basis, but that should give you some confidence at the level of preparation that we did even before we brought James on board, because there was no way he was going to join if we didn't have that level of preparation done beforehand.
Yeah, you're going to set out that entire competitor analysis you guys had done? We're going to drop that?
We'll put the one pager. We'll put the one pager in there that has everything hyperlinked within it.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay, very good. From Baller Dan, he asked, how would the AI algorithm, this is a great question, Baller Dan, how would the AI algorithm verify the degree of job seekers all over the world?
Yeah, so that is a great question. So in a very simple answer, what it's going to do is the user is going to input their information on their profile, very similar to what you would do on like a LinkedIn. And then what it's going to do is it's going to look at various public sources of data, which truthfully, I was kind of surprised the amount of information that's out there, not just in the US, but worldwide. So like if you're trying to be able to verify education history, most universities will have a registrar that actually is public data. So if you're looking and you're saying, okay, did Brett Butler graduate from Clemson University in 2015? It's out there that there's a public record that shows the actual degree certificate that I got, the degree that I graduated in, and whether or not I graduated with honors, for example. So all you would have to do is leverage the open source resources and then compare it to the information that a user submitted themselves. And it's the same thing on work that was submitted as well. We can do kind of deep levels of verification in terms of linking the actual email account with someone's Upwork account, for example, to verify that that user was indeed that user. And then from there, you get into kind of very technical proprietary stuff that analyzes whether or not that user actually produces that work. So that's about as high level as I can be able to give. And as we continue to be able to flesh a lot of this out and hopefully patent it over the coming weeks, we'll be able to share a little bit more with the community about the specifics of the tech.
Amazing. Thanks so much. Ken asks, you know what? This is a great question coming from Ken, because I think I know this guy pretty well, and I think I know where his head's at. He asks, are we able to get this deck? I think he's talking about the pitch deck, and I just want to preface, or I guess not preface, but whatever. I want to add to this question. Ken is adept at raising, right? He has a lot of people in his network that he connects exactly for that purpose. So that's probably why he's asking this question. So throwing that out there.
Absolutely, Ken. We will send out the deck via DocSend. So we'll put that link in there following this stage AMA. And we will set something up, not just with you, but anybody who shares this with investors that end up investing. We'll make sure to be able to give you points for that. So that way you guys are rewarded as well.
Fantastic. For our for our crypto, yes. Very cool name. How do we ensure a high level of trust and safety for users compared to other freelancing platforms?
Can he elaborate a little bit more about like what specific safety he's looking at? Is it referring to like the actual payments or kind of yeah, if he could clarify that a little bit because I could take that in a bunch of different directions.
Right, right. So for our crypto, if you want to just drop in some clarifications on that in the AMA questions, that would be fantastic. And if not, I think we could circle back and just kind of try to insinuate what you're thinking there. But it'd be great if we can get some clarifications. Queso asks, will this platform have paid premium version in the future, and what will be the difference if yes?
Yes. So the answer is we're going to be using kind of a freemium model, but the idea is that there's going to kind of be three different levels. So you have free where you could be able to try out the platform for 30 days. You'll have relatively limited access to different things. You'll have premium, which is kind of the standard, where you'll be able to be eligible to be able to use the entire platform. You'll have certain levels of things for your profile that you can be able to put out, and then you'll have the premium plus, which will have everything. So everybody that would be a part of the the minimum viable community would be have a lifetime premium plus. So any features that we roll out will be at those levels. And in terms of the pricing, we are still split testing it, but right now what we're looking at is $29.99 a month for premium and $49.99 a month for premium plus, and then $10 less a month if people pay in brass. So we used a couple of things from LinkedIn Premium along with Upwork Premium, along with the LinkedIn Sales Navigator as well. So, but we'll continue to be able to split test those pricing points with users and be able to adjust accordingly. But for you guys, it won't matter because if you're a part of it, you're going to get all this for free for life.
Free for life. Not bad. Not bad. Next question is from Bali Dan. How do we join? Great follow up to that right there. How do we join the early adopters, and what will be our responsibilities?
So James, do you and Mark want to be able to take that one?
Yeah, definitely. So how you will join the early adopters is, actually, Mark, do you want to take the joining part, and I'll go into a bit more on the responsibilities? Fantastic, thank you, Mark. And once you're in, so every community, whether it's like a citizenship for a country or it's something like this in a minimum viable community, whether macro or micro, any good community has a sense of duty on top of the actual value that you get. Right, as a citizen of a country, you have duties that you perform for that community, or whether that's mandatory military service, whatever it is, right? And the same goes for this, which is we're giving out a huge amount of opportunity early on, and to participate in that value creation, we do require some tasks to be completed, some responsibilities, as you asked in your question, and what that would look like is providing value back in the ways that you can provide value. It's very individualized. We have a long list of things that people will be able to do. But beyond that, we're looking at each individual. That's why we're doing this process of onboarding, taking these calls, speaking to people individually. What do they do? How do they do it? Why are they doing it? Are they passionate about it? All of these questions, we really, just like Brett, just like Ryan vetted me, they vetted the rest of the team. We want to vet the MVC, the people in this community early on, to ensure they are the type of people, they are the people that will build with us. And then once you're in, you'll just have certain things that you'll have to do on a weekly basis. We understand this isn't paid, so it's not going to be like one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, we're going to require you to do 20 hours of work or 30 hours of work. It's nothing like that. But there are going to be calls that you will need to be on, right? There will be tasks that you will need to help us complete. But it's the things that you do that can bring value to you and us at the same time. That's the whole goal with this MVC, that we create value for everyone. We create value for the organization, we create value for the platform, and we create value for you, the users. It's the idea of Web3. It's value creation for everyone at all times. So once you get part of that process, once you join into the onboarding with Mark and myself, you will learn a bit more on how that works. Brett, Ryan, do you want to add anything to that at all?
Yeah, I just wanted to just kind of piggyback on that a little bit too, and just let people know, like you were saying, James, it's a lot of stuff is it's not paid, so we're not expecting people to sit in front of a computer for 40 hours, and drive away and stuff like that. But you do get points for creating certain things or for participating in certain things, and those points do turn into tokens down the road once we do launch a token. So just bear that in mind, where it's yeah, it is sweat equity in the beginning, but it's something that can pay off down the road, if people are continuing to participate and bring people into the community.
Yeah, and also the other big thing is like Brett said a few times, is if you build with us, at the end of this, you do get that NFT, you get that lifetime membership, which is massive, and there's so much value just in that alone, right? So you get the points on top of it just for being here, building and doing your duty for the community, for the builder group, for this MVC, for Brass Energy. So you get that value. Then you also get all sorts of, there's so much that we have planned, guys. I can't wait for you guys to get in so we can just literally show you the Notion pages, show you all the docs, and show you what we're actually doing here, because it's honestly crazy. It's next level. We have it's the best project I've ever participated in, hands down, no question about it. And I'm so stoked to get you guys a part of the fold. Next question is from Short Time. What blockchain will Brass Energy utilize for its operations?
Yeah, so right now we're actively building on Polygon. We've also been in touch with several other blockchains, but right now I presume that it's just going to be staying with Polygon, just because of the gas fees and the transaction speed and all of that.
And they're doing a great network. They're building a great network over there at Polygon. They're doing a lot of really cool stuff. So Abiba asks, so she's clarifying. I think she's clarifying a little bit for 4 Hour Crypto's question. We asked, how do we ensure a high level of trust for safety and safety of users? And she clarified, I'm assuming it's about safety and trust related to our information, like digital portfolio, degrees, etc. And then, yeah, so I guess we can circle back to that question, maybe answer it a couple different ways, just so we cover a couple bases if you want.
Sure. So I'll cover the information side, and then I'll also cover the other big side, which is the money. So traditionally what happens is that if you're on a freelancing platform, one of the big issues that freelancers have are chargebacks specifically. So if you go and you pay for a service and there's a dispute for whatever reason, or you pay with a credit card, there's a bunch of issues. So one of the ways that we were going to be able to solve that is actually have proof of funds prior to any work beginning, meaning that money is already going to be sent to a smart contract via escrow. So if I'm doing a $100 job for Ryan, Ryan's going to send $100 to a smart contract. We agree upon the terms of the job. Once the job is done, then the $100 will be dispersed to me. If there's ever a dispute prior to the end of the work, that will go to the community who could be able to resolve. They'll kind of black out all the specifics, but you'll have, hey, Ryan and Brett had this agreement. Ryan was supposed to do this work, or sorry, Brett was supposed to do this work. Ryan is saying that Brett didn't do it, and that information will go to the community, and the community will ultimately be able to decide whether or not, who is right in that circumstance. And from there, a portion of that transaction will go to the community, and the remainder will go to the winner overall. So that's how we're able to create protections, because when someone right now is engaging in a service, you don't know whether or not the person who is paying for it as the freelancer actually has the funds. Whereas with what we're doing, it's creating that protection, because prior to any work beginning, you see the money that's in there. And it's all kind of not necessarily tied to your wallet, so there is going to be security aspects with it, but that's kind of the general premise of that protection. In terms of the data, certain data is going to be on-chain. It's obviously going to be very encrypted, but there are going to be some things that are kept off-chain as well. So you are going to have kind of your public address, and then you'll have private addresses for everything. So we will be taking security extremely quickly, or extremely, what's the right word? Seriously. There we go. And I can be able to get our CTO on to be able to talk about that further, just because he can be able to get into the actual technical questions far more than I can. But that's kind of a couple ways that we're protecting users overall.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brett. And yeah, I think moving forward, when we have any of these calls going forward, the entire core team will probably be here. So that way, when we have technical questions and stuff like that, maybe we can get those answered. I think very busy CTO building out an amazing platform. So I don't want to speak too soon. But all right, let's see. Is there any other questions? All right, next question from Follow Dan. Guys, we have about 5 minutes left. So if you have any other questions, please get them in, and we'll try to run through these real quick for you. Okay. Thank you so much all for being here. Baller Dan asked, do we still have to schedule another call to join early adopters after we have scheduled this onboarding call? No. If you scheduled the onboarding call, well, are you speaking of this onboarding call? Because this wasn't scheduled. I hope you're thinking of the onboarding call that you've actually scheduled. If you went to a Calendly link, you scheduled a call, that is the onboarding call. So no, you don't have to schedule another one. The process will go like Mark said earlier. You have that call. We're going to go over your information with the core team. We will probably also be going over it at a later date. Probably not this time around, but very soon. The builders themselves will be participating in a bit of this conversation around who's coming in the community, because we do want to build together with you guys. We want to make this MVC as transparent as possible with everybody here. So that's going to be a big thing. So after you get that, long story short, no, you don't have to do any more scheduling. I hope that answered the question. I'm long-winded sometimes. Ken Cato asks, are you able to say the name of the CMO?
Ooh. So Ken, out of respect for the CMO, because we literally finalized that over about 12 hours ago. So he's still finalizing a lot of his stuff, but it is in the pitch deck that you will get that will have all of his kind of information out there. But I know that James is going to use this as kind of content outreach. And so I just want to try for right now, for the next like 24 to 36 hours, kind of keep him on the down low. But you guys will have the information of who it is along with his LinkedIn in the pitch deck.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Ayn asks to add, this is how do we join early adopters and what will be our responsibilities? He says to add, will we docs and have a video on as part of the onboarding call? That hasn't been discussed yet. You will have to, in order for you to, I'm trying to work this out. We can work this out in real time if you want, Brett and everybody else, but I'm trying to work this out because in order for you to get your rewards, you're going to have to do level 1 verification on the platform anyway. Yeah? Is that correct, Brett, Ryan, right? They're going to have to do level 1 verification.
So to kind of clarify that, we what we know for sure is you will have to be able to dox yourself. What we're trying to be able to figure out is how public does that dox need to be. So what I mean is that you would have like basic identity verification of who you are, but that wouldn't necessarily need to be public knowledge, for example. So we're still kind of talking as an internal team, like once you create a profile on the platform, all that information can be verified, but do we allow someone to be able to have kind of their profile name as I'm, for example, rather than their normal name? So that is something still to be discussed. But for the onboarding call, my recommendation would be is that they do not have to be on camera, at least not at this stage. And then if that changes, we'll let people know, just full transparency. But for right now, I know there's a lot of high-level developers, for example, that do not want to publicly dox themselves, but they have no problem doxing themselves to like a third party, for example. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Love it. You have the answer. That was it right there. So the answer is no, not at this moment. We'll let you know in the future. And a lot of internal conversations around that. I think I saw one more person typing. Yep, Joshua. Joshua's typing some stuff. We'll give it a couple minutes for Joshua to answer. And once again, I want to thank everybody for sticking through. I mean, so many people here at the very beginning. You're still here. I see Precious in the audience. What's up, Precious? Long time no see. Thank you so much for coming in. But yeah, I just want to thank everybody for being here, sticking through this. It's been a little bit over an hour. We have our last question from Joshua, and then we're going to wrap this up. He asked, how will the community ensure that the voices of its members are heard and that their comments are taken into consideration in decision-making processes? So, well, there's a couple things there. One, we're going to be having, as far as being heard, we're going to be having constant communication. So this MVC, this minimum viable community, the reason why we're going this route is in order to build a real, like not just lip service saying, oh, we're a community, oh, we're a fam, hey family, right? Like not just lip service to that. We want to build a network of professionals that are here to build with us, build with each other, make lifelong relationships, right? And to do that, the communication aspect is going to be constant. You know, we're going to be having tons of regular calls in the community, going over everything from marketing, community building, technical aspects, bugs. Like we really, anything that we're doing, we're bringing it to this MVC. And we want to bring you guys in the fold. And that's why we're being so serious about vetting this and having a process on which we choose where we choose who actually gets it, because there's a lot here. You're also going to be able to network with Ryan, Brett. I mean, they're going to know you guys. You're going to be part of this community, the core community, and these are people you want to have in your network. So there's so much here. Now, the decision-making process, I'm not sure what that entails. Decision-making process for the community and what we're doing and how we're building, that's like I was laid out. There's going to be, I mean, we're going to be building alongside you guys. You're going to see what we're doing. You're going to be participating in all of the conversations. Is it as transparent as something like a blockchain voting process, DAO? No, it's nothing like that. At least not at this time. I know we haven't discussed anything like that. So that's not really kind of in the conversation right now. But I can assure you, everybody in this MVC will be participating in real meaningful ways. It's the entire reason we're building this. Brett, Ryan, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Not to that. I do want to add one thing in before we get off, but Brett, did you have anything to add to what James just said?
Yeah, just to kind of wrap it up with a bow before I turn it over to you, Ryan. The whole vision of this is that the people that are a part of the minimum viable community really are going to be the influencers of the platform, and not just during the build, but even post build. Because the idea is that in order to be able to improve your profile rank, you have to have a certain amount of points or tokens or reputation score. And so you guys, by being in the trenches with us early on to give us critical feedback, much of which I'm sure that we won't always want to hear, is going to allow us to build the best product. But when we go live, you guys wouldn't only have a Gen 1 NFT, but you have the potential to have the highest ranked NFT. Like literally the same exact thing that Ryan and myself have. Like there's no difference in terms of the overall rewards that you guys would get from the two co-founders. And so we're incentivized to be able to take you guys' feedback, because ultimately we want you guys to take ownership of this as well and help us attract other users. So just wanted to be able to make sure that that was said. And then Ryan, I'll turn it over to you for kind of last thoughts.
Yeah, thanks. So, I mean, a great point, Brett, with that, with the NFT and stuff, and it's true. One thing that I want to, we talked about a little bit throughout is, but we didn't really get too much into detail with, and not gonna get super depth right now either, but is the point. So, it's critical with points early on, just because the first 2.5 million points get transferred for brass tokens 1-to-1 ratio. From there it does do a slight increase, but that's really big. The second thing is that we talked about it early on again, was building a community for users, to be able to have influence on, and talking to Brett and stuff like that about this type of stuff, is we really do want you guys' feedback, and it is important to us that the people that do come on early help shape this platform, because the way we've always felt was, yeah, we had a great idea, and we have a great idea, and we have a good vision and stuff, but it's not going to get to where it needs to get to without people giving feedback on it. And that was, again, one of the main reasons why we broke this into 3 different stages. And even post launch, we all know, there's always going to be changes to a particular platform or anything. I was a really big gamer before I got into Web3 and stuff like that, and that's where alpha, beta, and live came from. I loved getting into early access games, giving feedback. Yeah, you deal with the hiccups along the way, but when you actually give your feedback and you see that company making those strides, it makes you want that game. And the great thing is I always got the game for like $5, and then everybody else paid like 60 because they got the full version. So that's kind of like the way we're taking it with this, is that, hey, you pay a 1-year membership up front, you get lifetime access, you get to reap all the rewards. And really, depending on what type of person you are, I mean, if you love tokens and you love helping out the community, and like I said, 1 point for 1 brass token for the first 2.5 million is a pretty great incentive. And we want to incentivize people gratefully for helping us out early on, and for believing in us, and for taking time out of their day to help grow our community without getting paid for it, essentially right up front. So that was one thing I wanted to bring up. And just a very, very last thing was, guys, I just wanted to say thank you for staying with us this whole time. This is not a feature about the platform or anything, but it's 20 people that have been here for an hour and 20 minutes. It's awesome. I've been in and out of the chat constantly every time I see a post, seeing the great feedback, and the props to one another from working in the past with each other or whatever it might be. The amount of synergy that I see here in the first 20 people has got me really excited. So thank you for your time, your questions, and I'll just pass it back to James if there's anything last thing to tie up.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, that's echoes my sentiments exactly. I can't thank all of you enough for being here at our launch. It really, truly, everything he just said, it's so spot on. I can't really say anything on top of that. I mean, it's amazing. A lot of familiar faces. I know a lot of you guys, and I'm just so excited to be able to bring you into this, and to see all of you get an opportunity that I know a lot of other Web3 projects don't generally give to people. So I'm really excited to see what you guys do with this opportunity and what we can do together. But with that being said, I want to thank everybody for being here over an hour, almost an hour and a half. Thank you so much. Thank everyone on the team for being here. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Mark. Thank Joey, even though he's not here right now, for being an amazing CTO. We don't have a calendar right now for our next AMA, but be on the lookout for that. If you haven't already signed up for an onboarding call, please do so, so that you can get in as quickly as possible and start making moves with us as the builders of Brass Energy. So thank you guys so much. Thank everyone for being here. We'll see you again very, very soon. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thanks, guys.